So I can probably help if you want to market 2% of them, but losing 2% of them, you'll need a better vet than me. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I think it's been a wonderful meeting and hopefully something that we can repeat, assuming we don't fix PRRS in the next 12 months. I thought all the presentations were good. Pete sucked, but the rest of them were pretty good. In all seriousness, I don't know that I have a lot novel to offer, but hopefully a couple of tips and tricks that you can take home and apply in your operations. So, my job is to start with talking about healthy pigs. So what do we do with the pigs that have to unfortunately start somewhere other than Iowa and Minnesota and then migrate to the pig dense areas? It's wonderful to have these very healthy pigs. Aaron Lauer always says, you know, pig production simple. Whoever makes the least amount of mistakes typically is the winner. The pig wants to succeed, right? No pig wants to die. No pig wants to stop eating. It's health typically that's the biggest barrier that we run into. And I think if we start with a good healthy wean pig, that's a great first step. I would encourage us to think about that term, healthy wean pig, right? What does it mean? I know for the context of this meeting, it means the pig isn't already infected with PRRS. But this pig is going to a pig dense area, right? Our wean to finish barns are not typically filtered. So the pig is probably going to get PRRS. What do pigs in the field typically die of? Not just PRRS. They die of PRRDC, right? They die of respiratory disease complex. So if your healthy wean pig just doesn't have PRRS, think about the influenza that's wrecking their lungs in the nursery period, right? Get rid of the influenza in your sow farm. Think about the mycoplasma cough that you always hear in those pigs at the end of finishing, even if you don't have PRRS. Get rid of those other respiratory disease problems before you really call that pig a truly healthy wean pig. I think if you're putting pigs into a pig dense region, you want to make sure, number one, the site isn't contaminated with PRRS and they get it from the site. I know that sounds obvious, right? But I would tell you that doing some serology of pigs in Iowa early in my career, all of the pigs in central Iowa are going to get PRRS. All of them. I don't mean some of them, I mean all of them, okay? So just assume that the site had PRRS in the last turn. Even if you don't think it did or it wasn't a bad group, just assume that the site is contaminated with PRRS. And make sure there's a realistic timeline for cleanup, especially in the summer, right? We're always tight on space in the summer. Maybe not as bad right now. Industry dynamics are a little bit unique. But generally, we get really tight on space, and we refill the barns as fast as possible, okay? I'm not saying that you need 3 weeks of downtime, but asking somebody to turn over a wean-to-finish site in 3 or 4 days is not realistic. So you have to schedule to give them the time they need to do a good job with the sanitation. And cleaning and sanitation, it takes time. There's dry cleaning, right? Don't just go in with a power washer and aerosolize every bit of feed and manure that's in there. Take the time to scoop out as much of the solids as you can and get those into the pit before you take the pressure washer to it. Use a detergent or a degreaser to help break up the biofilms. Use a hot water pressure washer. And don't just assume that the hot water is working, because anybody who's ever run a pressure washer knows that the cold water pressure washer is a lot more fun to run, right? And when the boiler goes down, that doesn't mean the pump goes down. So just because the pressure washer is pumping out water doesn't mean the hot water is working. And the hot water will help them do a better job. Inspect what you expect and try to get that first inspection done before they're done washing. Don't wait till they're done with the entire site and then go tell them they got to redo everything. If you can get in there when they're done with the first room or the first barn, go in and show them the areas where they're commonly missing, because they're going to miss the same areas in the next barns. So get that process started early if possible. And then disinfection. Don't waste your money on applying a liquid disinfectant that just drips into the pit. Right? I don't care what disinfectant you use, they all need contact time. And if it's just a true liquid that sprays onto your walls and drips directly into the pit, where's the contact time happening? In the pit, right? You're literally wasting your money. So use a foaming applicator and get some sort of cling where you're actually going to get contact time. And then don't forget about the office. And as crazy as it sounds, don't forget about the bolt gun, right? Most wean to finish sites are going to have a bolt gun of some way, shape, or form. If the site's contaminated, guess what else is probably contaminated? The bolt gun. So get it cleaned up. Educate the farm staff on biosecurity. We have a lot of turnover in finishing barns. one of the things that I would tell you is, while every pig is going to get PRRS during the wean to finish period in a high density area, they're not going to get it in the first 4 to 6 weeks. Right? There's something about the newly weaned pigs' respiration pattern that they're not very susceptible to aerosol transmission. The same study where we tested all the pigs with serology at the end of the closeouts, we looked at pigs kind of at the 4 to 6 week post-weaning time, and none of them had been laterally infected at that point. So we've got a fighting chance to get those pigs started, to get them to feeder pigs 30, 40 pounds where they can handle the infection a little bit better if we don't walk it in. But a lot of times in wean to finish in high dense areas, people just assume it's going to happen. Make sure they understand that there's more value with biosecurity early in the turn when the pigs are young than there is later in the turn when maybe they can handle a breakdown or maybe the aerosol transmission does happen. But ultimately, if we break the site with PRRS in the first 6 weeks or so, we probably walked it in. Explain what a clean and dirty line is. How many farms do we go to and you go to the bench and you see shoes that are 3 feet away from the bench? That is a sign they don't know what they're doing, right? And we've done a great job of teaching them an SOP, right? See bench, take off shoes at bench. But why do we take off the shoes at the bench? How do we make sure that our socks don't get contaminated and waste the value of the bench? Explain those things and see the light bulbs go on, right? When they understand the concepts, they'll make better decisions when you're not there. Dedicate employees to just that site if possible. I know it's not practical, but segregate your system and try and minimize the cross traffic that you have. Another suggestion I would have is get your supplies in for that group of wean to finish pigs before the pigs come. A little bit of heated downtime on those supplies has got value from a biosecurity perspective. There's built-in downtime of the site, so get those supplies in so that you're not 2 or 3 days after the wean pigs arrive and then you're trying to bring in bagged feed and medication and syringes and all that other stuff that has to be disinfected. There's less risk if you get it in early and use some of that downtime to your advantage. All right, so also have a contingency plan, right? I said that they're going to break with PRRS. We do need more tools and we need better tools. Paul said that very well. So for all the vaccine manufacturers out there, we appreciate what you bring us. PRRS MLV vaccines have shown absolutely a repeated value, right? Decreased mortality, improved average daily gain, over and over and over again against every new nasty virus that we create in our industry, right? They are not perfect, but they are the best, most practical tool that we have today. Get those vaccines in early because we need about 4 weeks after we give the vaccine before the pig really has any sort of robust immunity that's going to make a difference when the pigs do get infected. But think about that timeline, right? Pigs don't typically get infected in the first 4 to 6 weeks post-weaning. So if we get them vaccinated 1 to 2 weeks post-weaning, they can build that immunity and have the immunity for when they inevitably do see that wild type field virus. Biocontainment. I was really glad to see, I think Amy talked about that, Paul talked about that. It's extremely important. All right. We don't want to contaminate our neighbor sites, and obviously we don't want to contaminate our sites. The PRRS break is going to happen. Have a plan for biocontainment defined before the PRRS break happens. Don't do what I do, and at 6 o'clock at night when my diagnostic results come in, I'm scrambling to figure out what is the transport schedule, right? Who's been there? Where are we pumping manure? Where are we going next with all those people? We know the site's going to break, so have that be part of the pre-fill plan, right? We always put together a plan with the producer. Where are we going to put the fallback pigs? Where are we going to put the small pigs that we sort off? Make that part of the pre-fill plan. What are we going to do with the shared labor on this site when we do break with PRRS? And then we just execute the plan whenever that bad event does happen, and make sure to be a good neighbor. You may not know all the neighbors in the pig dense area, but for the ones that you know, share an update with them. Say, hey, we're positive with X, Y, and Z. Here's the sequence. Would love to discuss potential areas of cross traffic with you. As vets of vets, I think we do a pretty good job of communicating on that stuff. And I think that'll be reciprocated more often than what we appreciate. So just to summarize, assume the site was previously contaminated, clean and sanitize, give people the time to do it right and use the right equipment to get a good job done. Educate people on biosecurity. Don't just hand them the SOPs. Explain the concepts and help them think through how to execute things as simple as a clean, dirty line. I know it's intuitive to us. It is not intuitive to a lot of our employees. Vaccinate with a commercial MLV vaccine. Get the pig set up for success. Ideally, a PRRS naive, a myco naive, and an influenza negative pig when you start them at weaning, right? That's how you win the battle against PRRDC. Fight one bug at a time, not 3 or 4 ganging up on you. And then have the biocontainment plan defined and deploy it when and if the bad event happens. So, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. First and only time I've ever gotten done in 10 minutes. Appreciate the opportunity, and we'll do the questions later.